One day, Japan was invaded by mysterious giant insects. These insects attacked and took control of human bodies, transforming them into ruthless killers known as Nekroborgs. The origin of these insects became a perplexing mystery, with no one able to find definite answers. Once these insects seized the human body, they lost all control and consciousness. Once full of life, their eyes were replaced by terrifying black voids. The insects controlled their host bodies with full force, forcing them to commit acts of violence without mercy. When two Nekroborgs met, there was no room for peace. They stared at each other with eyes full of hatred, ready to fight to the death. This battle was a fight for survival, where only one would emerge as the winner. However, this battle was not without purpose. Every surviving Nekroborg had one main goal: ending this cruelty cycle. They fought to seize the silver sphere containing the insect parasite that controlled their host. This silver sphere was the key to ending their suffering and perhaps, just perhaps, uncovering the mystery behind this frightening insect invasion. A man named Sugimoto decided to take fate into his own hands. With overflowing courage, he attacked the Nekroborg that had won the battle. With agility, he seized the silver sphere containing the parasite that controlled the host. However, Sugimoto's actions were not solely for his benefit. He quickly ran to his daughter, Michino, who was the only light in his life. With trembling hands, he handed the silver sphere to Michino. Sugimoto's actions were those of a tirelessly loving father. He was willing to risk everything to protect Michino. Meanwhile, Yoji lived a lonely life as a young factory worker. With no friends at work, he always sat alone during lunch every day, his eyes fixed on his crush, Sachiko, who worked in the neighboring factory. Despite his deep admiration for Sachiko, Yoji lacked the courage to approach her. He could only gaze at her from afar, too afraid to reveal his feelings. Yoji had to deal with a supervisor named Tanaka, who constantly meddled in other people's affairs. Tanaka and his friends also couldn't ignore Sachiko's charm and beauty. They planned to invite Sachiko to a party, disregarding Yoji's silent affection for her. Yoji, upon hearing Tanaka and his friends' plan, felt powerless. He could only remain silent, sensing a deep despair enveloping him. Though his heart yearned to resist, his courage seemed to fade into the silence surrounding him. Sugimoto prepared to confront the Nekroborgs. Walking through the dark streets, he suddenly stumbled upon two Nekroborgs engaged in a fierce battle with each other. Sugimoto's eyes gleamed with determination as he witnessed the deadly fight unfolding before him. After the intense battle, one of the wounded Nekroborgs emerged victorious, visibly weakened by its injuries. Intending to kill, Sugimoto approached the injured Nekroborg. However, his weapon suddenly malfunctioned as he was about to strike, leaving him shocked and momentarily frozen. With only a simple weapon left, Sugimoto launched an attack, thrusting his gun towards the Nekroborg. Yet, his attack was not enough to kill the wounded Nekroborg. With quick reflexes, the injured Nekroborg managed to flee, leaving Sugimoto with deep frustration and disappointment. The parasite controlling the Nekroborg finally broke free from its weakened host. Leaving behind the severely injured human body, the parasite sought out a new host, leaving destruction in its wake. Meanwhile, Yoji, watching a movie alone in the cinema, was suddenly accosted by a terrifying crossdresser. Fearful, Yoji attempted to flee, but the crossdresser continued to pursue him. In the dimly lit alley, Yoji struggled to evade, but he was struck by the transvestite. Yoji felt something strange as the lights suddenly went out and came back on. He felt a liquid land on his cheek, and then, out of nowhere, a monstrous insect creature fell nearby. Fortunately, Yoji managed to dodge the creature's attack as it emitted smoke and remained motionless. Filled with curiosity, Yoji brought the strange creature home. Once there, he and his friend examined the beast. Its shell was callous, but there were scratches on the top, arousing a more profound curiosity. The next day, Yoji intentionally brought the strange creature to his workplace. After all the other workers had left, Yoji took the beast out of his bag with determined resolve. He intended to unlock the creature's secrets using a drill. However, Yoji's hopes were shattered when the drill broke, leaving him frustrated. Yoji finally decided to take the beast back home. That night, Yoji's neighbor invited him to dine out. Yoji accidentally spotted Sachiko walking with Tanaka and his friends on the streets. A sense of foreboding washed over Yoji, and he decided to tail Sachiko. As Yoji suspected, Tanaka and his friends intended to harass Sachiko. Without hesitation, Yoji attempted to protect Sachiko from their actions. However, his efforts were in vain when Tanaka struck him with a raw blow, leaving Yoji sprawled on the ground. Mercilessly, Tanaka and his friends left Yoji wounded and broken in the dark streets. Filled with pity, Sachiko felt sorry for him and returned with him to his apartment. There, she carefully tended to Yoji's wounds. After finishing her care, Sachiko planned to leave, but Yoji stopped her. With bravery, Yoji confessed his feelings to Sachiko, admitting he had always liked her. Sachiko was surprised but confessed that she had always noticed Yoji when he ate lunch alone. They both shared the feeling of loneliness. Sachiko then revealed that she disliked going to parties but thought Yoji would attend the party with Tanaka, so she joined. Then Sachiko hesitantly admitted that she also liked Yoji. However, she felt ashamed because her body was covered in scars inflicted by her possessive father. Sachiko even recounted how she once struck her father, leaving him paralyzed as an act of self-defense. However, amid their conversation, the insect in Yoji's closet suddenly reacted. The light in the room also began to flicker. The insect leaped and attached itself to Sachiko's body, emitting tentacles and wrapping around her. Yoji tried to free Sachiko, but its grip was too firm. One of the insect's tentacles even struck Yoji, throwing him backwards. Slowly, Sachiko began to be controlled by the parasitic insect. Eventually, the parasite succeeded in embedding itself in Sachiko's body. Now, Sachiko had transformed into a biomechanical monster, a Nekroborg, leaving Yoji in deep despair and hopelessness. Yoji and Sachiko were bewildered by what had happened, so Yoji's neighbor suddenly appeared. Unable to control her body anymore, the insect parasite moved Sachiko's body to retrieve a weapon and brutally kill Yoji's neighbor. Sachiko, stunned and confused by losing control of her body, could do nothing as the parasite manipulated her body to commit the heinous act. The parasite then cruelly deployed 2 drills to seal Sachiko's eyes shut, trapping her in terrifying darkness. Witnessing this, Yoji felt fear creeping in. However, before he could react further, Sachiko, now fully transformed into a Nekroborg, mercilessly attacked Yoji. Both fell from the apartment, descending onto the harsh ground outside. Outside, Sugimoto suddenly appeared. Seeing Sugimoto's presence, Sachiko immediately felt threatened. She fled the scene, leaving behind the wounded and lost Yoji enveloped in darkness. The next day, Yoji woke up in Sugimoto and Michino's residence. Sugimoto was a Nekroborg hunter who had long researched parasitic insects to uncover their weaknesses. Sugimoto then shared some information he knew about the parasitic insects with Yoji. According to Sugimoto, the insects only attacked people in a state of depression, as experienced by Sachiko when she talked about her father. Sugimoto added that the parasites could read and store their host's memories. Sugimoto then introduced Yoji to his daughter, Michino. Previously, Michino had been possessed by the parasitic insect. Still, Sugimoto thwarted it before the parasite fully controlled Michino's body. However, as a consequence, Michino had to continuously consume the silver balls containing the insect parasite to stay alive. Yoji expressed his desire to help Sachiko, but according to Sugimoto, it was too late. The parasite had fully taken over Sachiko's body, and the only way to end her suffering was to kill her so that Sachiko wouldn't suffer anymore. The situation seemed increasingly hopeless, and Yoji had to face the difficult decision of saving his loved one. That night, Yoji woke up from a haunting nightmare. However, the reality awaiting him was more terrifying than his dream. Opening his eyes, he stood before Michino, alone in a dark and eerie room. Michino led him into a room filled with disgusting insect parasites without saying a word. Suddenly, Sugimoto appeared and scolded Michino for bringing Yoji into the room. In a cornered state, Michino revealed that Sugimoto intentionally bred the parasitic insects. However, some of them were defective, and Sugimoto had to do it to continue feeding Michino. But what's more surprising was the real reason Sugimoto brought Yoji to his house. He wanted his modified parasitic insects to infect Yoji's body. The insects were designed to infect anyone, not just the depressed. After that, he planned to take the parasite in Yoji's body to feed Michino. Mercilessly, Sugimoto shoots Yoji's leg to prevent him from escaping. Then, one of Sugimoto's genetically mutated insects launched towards Yoji at frightening speed, ready to infect his body and end his life. In a desperate situation, Yoji had to face a terrifying threat. The silver ball containing the parasite finally formed in Yoji's body, and he fought desperately to resist as the drill began to emerge to pierce his eyes. However, his efforts were in vain. Eventually, only one of his eyes was pierced. Despite being wounded, Yoji remained conscious and quickly took action. He destroyed the silver ball containing the parasite in his body, hoping to prevent the parasite from controlling him. Sugimoto, astonished by Yoji's strength and bravery, could do little as Yoji took control. Quickly, Yoji retaliated by ending Sugimoto's life. In an instant, Yoji, whose body had already partially transformed into a Nekroborg, continued his journey without mercy. With his increased strength, Yoji immediately began his quest to save Sachiko. His steps were filled with tension and hope to restore the life he once knew, although the haunting shadows of the past continued to haunt him. Meanwhile, Sachiko confronted Tanaka to avenge herself. With anger burning within her, she wrapped iron around Tanaka's body, but Yoji arrived at the scene before she could finish what she started. Yoji firmly instructed Sachiko to stop, but Sachiko ignored his request. Without hesitation, Yoji attacked Sachiko, but Sachiko coldly used Tanaka as a human shield. Yoji retaliated, but his attack halted as Tanaka again obstructed his path. When Sachiko unleashed a deadly attack, fate had other plans. The attack instead hit Tanaka, resulting in a tragic death for Sachiko's archenemy. Shocked by what had happened, Sachiko immediately fled the scene. Yoji, stunned and confused, felt compelled to chase after Sachiko. Although he didn't want to kill her, he remained determined to find another way to help Sachiko out of the darkness that threatened her. Yoji stepped forward with a heart whole of resolve, ready to face the challenges ahead. Suddenly, from behind, Sachiko viciously attacked Yoji, cornering him. Yoji struggled to free himself from Sachiko's grasp as he was sprayed with strange liquid. Yoji finally managed to escape with relentless effort, but Sachiko quickly found him. This time, Sachiko used a burst of flames to attack Yoji, pursuing him with deadly intent. Despite being continuously attacked, Yoji tried approaching Sachiko, even though fire surrounded him. He hoped to awaken Sachiko again, but his efforts seemed futile. The parasite controlling Sachiko's body replaced its weapon with a saw, and Sachiko began mercilessly attacking Yoji. Yoji fought desperately, holding back the saw with his injured hand while still trying to wake Sachiko from the parasite's control. Finally, after a series of futile attempts, Sachiko regained consciousness. In despair, she asked Yoji to end her suffering. Yoji, unable to bear seeing Sachiko suffer, suddenly pulled out a cannon from his chest. With a heavy heart, Yoji shot Sachiko with the gun, ending her life, along with the parasite in her body, once and for all. With a heavy and sorrowful heart, Yoji witnessed the tragic end of their struggle. However, with his actions, he freed Sachiko from endless suffering and hoped that he could find peace in the next world. A few moments later, Michino approached Yoji, who was exhausted. With care, she removed the bandage around Yoji's neck, and hidden behind it was the silver ball containing the still-living parasite. Without hesitation, Michino removed the parasite from its hiding place and attached it to Yoji's body. Tentacles emerged and forcefully pierced Yoji's right eye. In an instant, Yoji transformed entirely into a Nekroborg. Yoji remembered Sugimoto's words about the parasite's ability to store its host's memories. Yoji, in an inevitable state, seized this moment. He spoke to the parasite now controlling his body, telling it about his identity and Sachiko. With unspoken hope, he prayed that the parasite would never forget who he was and his love for the girl who made him feel alive. However, Yoji kept a deadly secret. In his final decision, Yoji had planted a bomb inside his body. And without a word spoken, without resistance, Yoji's body, now controlled by the Nekroborg, exploded in a flash of light that destroyed everything around it. With a tragic and brave end, Yoji ended his struggle, sacrificing himself to protect his loved one and ensure that the parasite would no longer destroy anyone's life. And amidst the remaining dust and debris, the story of Yoji and Sachiko, full of love and sacrifice, ended with an unforgettable honor. A few days later, a parasite was speaking with its leader aboard an alien spacecraft floating in space. All this time, the parasites had been conducting intensive research on the human body to find a suitable host. Finally, they found the perfect host they deemed. It was Yoji's body. With admiration, they cloned Yoji's body, stating that it was perfect and ideal for becoming the best host. The parasite also explained that they also found a partner for Yoji, Sachiko. Sachiko had a solid emotional connection with Yoji, and if they united, they would become a very powerful Nekroborg. With firm conviction, the parasite declared they would use Yoji and Sachiko's bodies in the next game called Meatball Machine. In this game, the parasites planned to confront their enemy clan and were confident they could win. By combining the power of Yoji and Sachiko's bodies and relying on their emotional bond, the parasites hoped to create an unbeatable Nekroborg pair. And with strong determination, they prepared to face new challenges in the Meatball Machine game. Despite being fraught with tragedy, the tale of Yoji and Sachiko left behind a message about the power of love and unwavering resolve that is unforgettable. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.